If you have your parking structure right next to your busiest area, nobody walks past it into the less busier area. So it's not just, boom, there it is. It's, why do we place it over there? We place it over there so people need to walk in front of our stores and visit and see what else we have down here. That's one of the reasons why they said to put it over there. They said to put it between the city hall and the library, number one, for the size of the lot. Number two, again, you have to walk in front of the businesses before you get to your goal. It is a well-known fact that people will walk maybe a block for a retail store. They'll walk a half a mile for a restaurant, but folks will walk up to a mile for a bar. So we need to make sure that we're supporting the whole walking area. The DDA has invested a lot of money in the wayfinding. We got a wayfinding grant, and what that means is signs throughout the entire city that point people to the areas in Ferndale that people are looking for, and one of them is the downtown, signs pointing to City Hall, etc. What would a parking deck cost? A parking deck costs, without any down payment, a parking deck would cost $686,000 annually. With a down payment, let me back up. So $686,000 annually. How is that paid for? It's paid for by meters, by parking fines, by tickets, etc. But even with all of that money going into the cost of the deck, and it doesn't include maintenance, we still have a $130,000 deficit that we would need to bring in to support the cost of the deck. If the city put a down payment of $1.5 million on that deck, that cost would break even in the beginning, and then over time, as parking increased and parking costs increased, then we would move from a deficit to an increase, and then that money would go back into the auto parking fund. The challenge we have here that the DDA has is the city of Ferndale owns the public parking lots. They own and manage the auto parking fund, which supports the parking system. What the auto parking fund is, all your quarters that go into the meters, that goes into the auto parking fund. What is the auto parking fund used for? It's used for maintenance for all the lots. There was confusion as to whether it was all the lots in Ferndale or just the downtown lots. We just recently heard back that it's just the downtown lots. But to me, that just shows that we need better accountability and a clearer picture of what the auto parking fund is used for. The city issues the permits for development. They do the rezoning. Rosie O'Grady's, that we all love and adore, and we thank very much for being here, is something that the city worked on. So, and the DDA helped with that as well, but the DDA couldn't say yes, no, maybe so on this place. The DDA just needed to support the process that the city was going through. Other development in this area, the city is the one who says yes and no, and so we're asking for better planning before you put another restaurant or another intensified use in any of these buildings, that we look at the ramifications to the business and the residents around us. Some of the challenges we found when we were doing our research is that the money generated by the parking system does not all go into the auto parking fund. For instance, the tickets go into the general fund. When you pay your ticket late, that part of it goes into the court fund. They recently raised the fine, so part of that will now finally go into the auto parking fund. But if you look at the tickets generated last year was $195,000 in tickets. That all went into the general fund. That did not go into the auto parking fund. And from all accounts, it's been going on for over 10 years. And if you take a look at the average of the past 10 years, if that ticket money had gone into the auto parking fund, we would have had our $1 million to start building a deck. So Bob has talked about asking the council to change where that money goes. I do not envy the city on balancing their budget and figuring out where money goes, but if it's generated here and it's been supporting the entire city, we need the city to start supporting us back. Again, what we're asking the city council to do is take immediate action on this parking situation. What do we mean by immediate action? Let's start creating a plan and putting it together and start using it. Whether it's whatever it needs to be. I may be kind of an expert in this room, but I'm certainly not an expert at parking and all the different things that can go on. I've hit the max of my knowledge base on this. And we need to bring professionals in here. There's no professionals within the city, within the DDA, within the city hall that knows all about parking and knows how to make a system work. And so what we need is we need to put out a request for proposal to the parking professionals to help us create a system or better the system that we already have to help the flow of the parking, to help fix the deficit by adding additional parking. There are some ideas that came to the table about buying up some houses and spreading horizontally with our parking. I just personally feel that that's a bad idea, and they would never rezone. I don't think the city would never rezone. Parking needs to go vertically, not horizontally, because we don't want to, look everywhere we look, see a field of cars. We're Ferndale. We're cuter than that. So there's been other ideas that have come to the table. There's people who definitely do not want a parking deck over on the Withington lot. They're definitely afraid of it. They feel that the building of it will put them out of business. Based on all accounts, it would take about 4 months to build a parking deck, but before ground is broken, before a check is written, before a bond is signed for, there needs to be a plan in place on how we would support the businesses affected. I'm not saying Ferndale, but municipalities on a whole are notorious for saying, we're going to repave this street and not deal with how it's going to affect the businesses. So we're asking for a whole plan. How are we going to shuttle people to the stores? How can people, if we put it behind the dollar store, how can people get to the dollar store easily? And it would affect all of us. So just a good plan in that. We're also asking for a payment in lieu policy for intensification of use in the central business district. Now that's a lot of, I had no idea what that meant when I first heard it. Payment in lieu for intensification of use, meaning if my little store became a nightclub and it was an intensified use.
For five.
For five, yeah. And I needed more parking for the city to allow that, I would have to pay into the parking fund for however many spots that I would need to intensify that use. For instance, if the Old Navy became a 400-seat restaurant, that would definitely be intensified use, and whoever is coming in to that would need to pay into the parking fund to get our deck to support that. And because they can't just build more parking spots, there's nowhere to build them. So they would have to go to that auto parking fund. And that's in the central business district, meaning the DDA area. I think that's the tail end of it. We have 2 important dates coming up, but at the same time, I don't want to inundate with the city council. From what I understand is that they are, we just heard on Monday that they're looking at putting off voting on the bond debt that they're going to vote on either the 8th or the 22nd until May, so they can study the whole, everything. So they can look at what needs to be improved first, whether it's our municipal area with those buildings or the parking area. So we really thank the city council for looking at that. And I gotta tell you, I really thank the residents for coming out, for us making some noise and saying we really have to take care of this first, and we're heard. It's because we did the community forums, it's because we put some pressure on them and said, wake up, look over here, that I think they started paying attention. So this is a round of applause for us on that one, for all of you for showing up.
Before you wrap it up, could you give us just a brief, let's maybe call it hierarchy of what the next steps are in terms of who do we approach first to get a professional to come in and then talk about building our bonds? How does this all work?
Christina, can you respond to it? Maybe we can respond to that at the very end, because that's a great question. Because I want to give Bob a chance to talk about what the city's doing. He's got some great information on that. And this is not an us against them. This is local government.